Joining me now is Terry Lynch, the CEO of Power Nickel. Great to see you, Terry.
Great to be here, Mark. Hope you're doing well.
Absolutely. And a lot has been going on at the Power Nickel since we last spoke. Let's get right into it. We'll start with the drilling, which you started about 2 weeks ago, the restarting of drilling at the Nisk project. You've added a second rig. Your team is targeting 4 new zones. Can you give us a little overview of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I think we've got our best drilling prospects we've ever had as a company, and obviously we've done very well with the drill bit, so that says a lot. But yeah, we started drilling about 10 days ago, got our first hole down and well completed. We're happy with the results there. And that was on our a deeper section on the Nisk main that we had started before Christmas. So finished that one off. Now we're drilling, have been for the last 2 or 3 days on ambient noise tomography target number 3, or ANT3 as we call it. And it's a replica sort of size-wise to Nisk main. And it's got the exact same signature as Nisk main. So when we say signature, when we use the ambient noise tomography, which is the new sort of technology-ish that Fleet Space Technologies has been using and with great success, made it Australia's fastest growing company. Basically, they identified that they measure the velocity of the rock. And when they measured our deposit, it's basically an ultramafic deposit, as you know, and that ultramafic rock has a speed of about 4,300 meters per second. When it drops off to 3750, that's where the massive sulfides get deposited, almost on a 1-for-1 basis. So that allowed us to sort of develop a signature where we could correlate, where the discoveries were based on the drill bit, based on this, correlation of the 3750 from the 4300, that little checkered line that we sort of plotted. We could see this is where the massive sulfides were congregating. So, we basically looked at we had done a 4-kilometer square survey using the Fleet technology around Nisk main, and we identified 4 targets that had this signature. So we're now drilling the first one, ambient noise ANT3. It's about almost a kilometer west of Nisk main. And, we're drilling it now, and we're excited to hopefully deliver the next new pod at Nisk. Basically, the plan would be if we strike it there, we'll leave the rig drilling there and bring in more rigs to test the other pods out. You mentioned about the second rig. The second rig is coming next week, and it's actually going to be used. We've got these 4 ambient noise targets. But we also, as you recall, maybe last year, we had finished the year off with a bang with, getting a bonanza hole where we had 8 meters of almost 1 ounce PGMs. And so we've got some serious step outs there that we're doing with the second rig. So that'll be next week, and we're testing, obviously the ambient noise targets, and then we're also testing this PGM target. So as I said, we're super stoked about our drilling season, and we're well into it now.
All right, very good. It sounds like a lot of potential to expand the resource. And speaking of that, in late November, the company put out its mineral resource estimates, and you called it a major step in proving the commercial viability of Nisk, and also establishing it basically as one of the best nickel investment opportunities in the world, essentially. So can you pull out some of the highlights from the MRE?
Yeah, so we basically had 7.2 million tons. About 2/3 of that was indicated, and about 1/3 inferred. The average grade was about 1.13% nickel EQ. Grade getting much better at depth. The inferred was about 1.5%. And we think this is just a start. It only included 1 of our 7 holes that we drilled in the fall. So we know we're over that now, and we'd expect probably Nisk main would probably grow to sort of 10 million tons. That's probably the viable size for a small nickel mine, 10 million tons. Now, we don't think we're going to stop there. We would expect, the analogies in Canada would be Lynn Lake, which was 22 million tons, and Voisey's Bay, which is plus 50. We'd expect us to be somewhere in between there, possibly towards the Voisey's Bay. We certainly have identified 4 other pods that we'll be drilling on, and we expect to crank that tonnage this year to probably double, triple it. So that's super exciting. And in terms of why we sort of say we're the best nickel investment in the planet, we're specific about comparing ourselves to other high-grade nickel sulfides around the world. There's various types of nickel, and we're not low grade. We're like Canada Nickel or Giga Metals. And again, not disparaging those companies, are just a different animal, a lot more capex. Ultimately would produce a lot of nickel, but at much lower grades and much lower rates of returns. So ours would yield to a lot higher internal rate of return, we expect. And what if we were measuring it sort of in market cap per unit of nickel in the ground, compared to our peers, we'd definitely be the lowest market cap per unit of nickel in the ground compared to our peers in the high grade nickel sulfide world. So, Red Cloud actually put out a nice research report on us and highlighted that fact in the research report. So, that's where we're sort of hanging our hat. But we think this is a year that will change that. We think the growth in the deposit will make the world take up notice of NISC and realize that this is going to be a very major nickel ultimately project, and could be rivaling Voisey's Bay at some point. There's certainly this thing has got amazing upside.
Well, that would be something for sure. Terry, something else we've talked about before is the fact that you've partnered with CVMR Investments, and they're partnering on the feasibility study. And one of the things you're trying to do is prove the viability of producing refined products. How is that approach different from peers in terms of attempting to pull out far more metal byproducts than is typical at a project?
Yes, yeah. So generally speaking, nickel miners have been, making concentrate, and they would sell that concentrate to smelters. The thing with the smelting industry is it's very old tech, so they're very restricted in what they can take, and so you have to make things, concentrates that the smelters will take, and that exercise often leaves you leaving, a lot of the nickel grade in the ground. So in our case, we're going to get 70% out in a concentrate of the nickel, only about 50% of the copper, maybe 70% of the cobalt and the palladium. So that leaves a lot of material in the ground. With CVMR, on the nickel, we're seeing results of over 90%. So obviously that's like a 30% improvement across the board. That's massive. A couple other points in their favor are that the iron, which obviously our nickel is massive sulfides are associated with iron. The iron represents about 12% of our ore body. So the iron is a waste product in the concentrate program. If you're sending it to a smelter, they don't want iron. But with CVMR, if we work with them, that the iron would actually be a paying product, iron powders. So again, you get a whole new revenue stream there. And then the final point I would make is that when you make a finished product, you get paid a lot more than just making, a concentrate. So these, nickel powders, nickel nanopowders, nickel wires, nickel anodes, MHP, precursor for the EV space, you're looking at getting 2.5 to 3 times LME. So you increase the volume of your yield, and you increase the revenue per yield unit massively. So it really is transformative for the economics, and that will obviously come out in our feasibility study. And in that respect, we expect the first sort of advance on the feasibility study will be the benchmark report, and we'll be getting that out in mid 20th, February 20th, something like that is our thinking. And that'll be a first great check on that, and then we'll follow it up with the prototype results, and then finally the feasibility itself in the summer.
All right. Beyond that, Terry, you've got a very ambitious, busy 2024 plan, such as looking to spin out your copper and gold assets, sell a royalty, sell 10% of the company, strike some offtake agreements. So can you sort of briefly run us through some of those goals?
Yes, yeah. So basically, we've got a game plan to. We've got a very interesting royalty that we had sold a project to Teck, and we have a 3% NSR on that. It's a 100 million ton copper moly, project in Chile. So we've hired a group out of Switzerland, ex-chairman of a major royalty company, to sell it, and we're hoping that we can, get some serious bidders to the table end of Q1, early Q2 on that, and probably pocket in the $3 to $5 million US range. And then subsequent to that, we're looking at selling a 10% stake in the company, to industry partners sometime between now and end of H1. We've got, I guess 8 groups in the data room right now, and more are coming, each week. And now that we've got the 43101 in there and the new fleet ambient noise reports in there, it's pretty, amazing set of data that they can sort of see that this is not going to be a small mine; it's going to be a big one. And of course, there's only going to be one piece, so sold like that. So we think that could be a way to, bring bigger players to the table and a more meaningful financial investment. You've seen this happen for Canada Nickel. You've seen it happen for FPX. So it certainly is very likely to happen for us sometime in H1, and we're pursuing that. And then the final thing we talked about, was spinning out our copper gold assets. So we expect to get that offering circular out in the end of February. Just finishing the valuation this week, and 43101 is already ready to go. These assets will probably be valued somewhere between $10 to $15 million. So that's what our evaluator tells us. We'll see when that comes out. But and then we'll raise capital separate from Power Nickel to sort of fund that. And basically, we're going to do it first as a private company. And the reason why we do that is we have a problem with predatory short selling of our stock. We filed a complaint with CIRO and FINRA. We've been fairly vocal about this. We think it's a heinous crime, and that these guys should be caught and punished. We're doing our own thing, obviously, to protect Power Nickel shareholders. This spin out will be a very difficult thing for them to replicate, because the only people that can give the dividend of this great, almost 50% of our value really is Power Nickel itself. So they won't be able to sort of fake it. They either they have to evidence that they own the stock, and then they get the dividend. If they don't have the evidence to own the stock, they're out of luck. So they're gonna, I think what'll happen, this will force a lot of buy-ins, but we'll see. It's another step in our process, and we're certainly looking forward to getting that done. The Chile properties are particularly attractive in that spin out. We have the ambient noise tomography team in Chile right now doing some research on our Chile properties, and some effectively the same program they did up at NIST. And we have some serious prospects down there. We had 40 meters of 0.7% copper gold. So, pretty interesting prospects. We never were able to find the source. Maybe with the ambient noise technology we can, and that will make that spin out even more attractive. So we're quite excited about that.
Terry, let's pick up on that complaint that Power Nickel has filed with regulators, starting with the fact that you founded something called Save Canadian Mining. And as part of that initiative, you've got this complaint filed, and you believe this potentially illegal short selling is pervasive throughout the industry, not just with Power Nickel, but with at least 20 other junior type of companies. So what is it that you believe brokers are doing, and what is it you're trying to do to stop it?
Yeah, it's we're getting together a group of 20, but it's probably more like 200 or 1,000. I think it's systemic across the entire sector, and you can see it. I've talked to many peers. We had I think in late November, early December, we had a session with Eric Sprott and many other experts on the short selling world. And at that conference, we had like 150 requests for meetings from junior mining firms who are plagued by the issue. So we've brought this, repeatedly to the attention of the regulators as an association, the Safe Canadian Mining Group, advocacy, and to the politicians. And honestly, they've done nothing. So we're leaning on the heat. We're pounding the table, and we're making complaints. And now, finally, there's some litigation that can be done. There's been litigation in the States, and some new sort of rulings that now banks who had taken the perspective that when they allow people to use electronic trading and they rent their pipe and they trade, if they're breaking the law, they were saying, well, sue those guys. That's their problem. It's got nothing to do with us. We're just renting pipe. But the reality is they're only renting your pipe because you actually are a broker and can allow them to trade. So of course you have to provide oversight. And the court in New York found that CIBC World Markets basically said, hey, look, you have to provide oversight to these guys. And if you're negligent in doing that, then you're going to be liable. So now for the first time, banks are potentially going to be liable for great losses that our junior mining investors are losing. And we can actually find somebody that's got a balance sheet we can go after. The evidence that we filed was put together by a company called Share Intel. And that's a new breakthrough as well, because now we can actually get evidence. This is like from an audit firm. We get evidence from Broadridge, CDS, TSXV. This is not some sort of aluminum foil hat on Terry's head. This is evidence that's been used 11 times in the court of law that's won settlements between $10 and $100 million. So we're going to be vigorous to defend our company stock, and we're telling the industry, let's get together as industry and be vigorous now, because now they're weak, they're vulnerable, and they need to change these rules, because it's just ridiculous. There's nothing left to short in this industry. Where TSXV is trading at an all-time low, and we're in great commodity markets. Really, we're 10-15% off the top. The money to be made here is on the long side, but of course, if the capital markets are broken, it's very difficult to get investors in. But I think now, Mark, I really am more hopeful. I'm saying to people that now's the time to invest in junior mining. Obviously, we're talking about people investing in Power Nickel, but even if there's many great opportunities out there, Power Nickel's not the only one. We certainly will stand toe to toe with anyone. But it's also a great time to be investing in mining funds. Mining funds may provide another way forward. I'm saying to people, look, if you're going to invest X dollars next year, you need to get off half of X now. Because when this market moves, it's going to move 50% in 3 days, 100% in 2 weeks. And and I know what happens, because I've been there. And when that happens, you never get in those stocks. And these stocks will go 5 and 10 and 20 times. And you're going to not have gotten in because you're gotten in too late. And I'm telling you that will happen. And get invested in mining funds. Get invested in your favorite junior miner. Get half your position now.
All right, great stuff. It's going to be fascinating to follow that, and you certainly are passionate about this, about what you're doing in this initiative. And just lastly, here you've been hinting at it. I want to throw some of the words you've said to us before, but you basically say we're the best nickel deal on the planet. Period. And we can back that up with math. So remind investors as to why.
Yeah, the math is basically just looking at our nickel in the ground per unit of market cap, and basically we're saying that based on where we're at, we're the cheapest, and we also have the most upside, both in terms of the amount of tonnage we can add, but also because we're working with CVMR, we're going to be able to get to the revenue side of this that no other miner is really getting to. Like, we're going to get the refinery side. So there's potential to sort of not only, have this great deposit that may have 30, 40, 50 million tons, who knows? Plus, remember, this is only from surface to 500 meters. What's deeper? Generally speaking, nickel is a much deeper project. Like if you look at Raglan or Voisey's Bay or Norilsk, the world's only $1 trillion mine, it's a nickel mine. And it basically started as a surface mine, much like Power Nickel would. And then they found the really deep stuff a lot deeper. So that could happen here, and we're bringing back fleet to get after that next summer. So we're always looking for, as investors, or we should be looking for asymmetric returns, where you're not, saying, hey, I might lose a little bit, but I can win a whole lot. And so right now at Power Nickel, we traded last year between 18 and 36 cents. I don't know, today we're at 23 or something like that. I just bought a whack, my family, at 25. Rob McEwen, the same thing. Smart guys. And, I think the upside on this deal, I mean, in my mind, I believe we're going to get at least a 10x out of industry, and I hope to get a lot more out of the market. So we'll see.
All right, I love it, and we will revisit down the road and revisit these words that you've said, because you definitely have been around and you've seen it before. So it's exciting stuff. Thanks, Terry.
Thanks for having us, Mark. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Terry Lynch, CEO of Power Nickel.